Hello, NCAC sports fans, and welcome back to another episode of This Week in the NCAC. I'm your host, Brett Billhart. On this week's show, we'll celebrate the achievements of those spring sports student athletes who were named NCAC Athletes of the Week in their respective sports for the week ending on Sunday, March the 16th. We'll first head out to the links and open this week's show by recognizing our first NCAC men's and women's Golfer of the Week selections for the spring season. The Women's Award went to Allegheny senior Sarah Vorderbrug for her performance against some of the nation's top competition at the Jekyll Island Invitational in Georgia. Vorderbrug, who resides in Greenwich, Connecticut, finished in a tie for 37th in the individual standings after tallying a 54-hole score of 248, which did include an opening round 79 and a final round 82. The Gators finished in a tie for 15th in the final team standings after accumulating 1,046 total strokes. And in men's golf, Wittenberg junior John Chaney collected the weekly award after he helped guide the top-ranked Tigers to a fourth-place finish at the TaylorMade Adidas Intercollegiate in Daughtah Island, South Carolina. Chaney, who hails from Gates Mills, Ohio, finished in a tie for fourth in the individual standings with a three-day total of 221, which included rounds of 73, 76, and 72. In the final men's team standings at the event, Wittenberg finished fourth overall with 923 strokes, while Kenyon was ninth with 959, and Ohio Wesleyan was 13th with 1,028 strokes. Guilford did win the team event with a 54-hole score of 909. NCAC golf squads continue action in the week ahead, highlighted by the Denison men's and women's teams competing in separate shootout events in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Let's now head over to the courts, where a pair of Worcester student athletes swept the weekly awards for men's and women's tennis. The men's award went to sophomore Willie Nelson, who has been a key player in leading the Fighting Scots to a perfect 4-0 record on the first week of their spring break training trip in Hilton Head, South Carolina. Nelson, a resident of Bemis Point, New York, and a graduate of Maple Grove High School, was a perfect 3-0 in the number one singles position, where he posted a third-set super tiebreaker win against Edgewood to go along with two straight-set wins over Lake Forest and Bloomsburg. He also posted a 3-1 record on the week with partner Milo Sauerman in the top doubles flight. On the week, the Worcester men defeated Edgewood 8-1, Catholic 6-2, Lake Forest 7-2, and NCAA Division II member Bloomsburg 8-1. And at 6-3 on the year, the Fighting Scots have already exceeded their win total from last season. In women's tennis, the award went to Worcester freshman Rachel Mollet, who was nearly perfect in leading the Fighting Scots to a 2-1 record on their opening week of spring break action in Hilton Head, South Carolina. Mollet won a pair of matches at number one singles against Fairmont State's Erin McCown and Catholic's Laura Torciello. She also paired with sophomore Catherine Christian for a perfect 3-0 record in the number one doubles position. The Fighting Scots picked up their wins last week against NCAA Division II member Fairmont State 7-0 and Catholic 8-1, while their lone loss came against Lake Forest by a 7-2 margin. Several NCAC tennis squads will continue their spring break training trips this week, led by the Allegheny squads competing in Hilton Head and the Denison squads traveling to Southern California. And we'll now shift our attention to the lacrosse field and recognize the achievements of the NCAC men's and women's Player of the Week recipients. The men's award went to Denison senior attack Eddie Vida, who scored a career-high 9 goals in leading number 8 Denison to a 19-17 win over Stevens Tech on Saturday in Towson, Maryland. Vida, a resident of Coronado, California, scored 2 of his game-high 9 goals in an 11-second span with under 2 minutes left to play in the fourth quarter to lift DU to the 2-goal victory. His 9 goals were one shy of the Denison and NCAC single game records. The conference portion of the men's lacrosse schedule kicks off in earnest this Saturday with 3 league contests on the slate, including Hiram hosting DePaul, Ohio Wesleyan visiting Oberlin, and Kenyon entertaining Wittenberg. In women's lacrosse, the weekly honor went to Oberlin freshman attack Sarah Pfister, who led the Yo women to a 2-0 week by totaling 12 points with 8 goals and 4 assists. Pfister, a native of Phoenix, Arizona, and a graduate of Mountain Point High School, opened the week with 5 goals and 2 assists in a 22-6 win over Lourdes, and then added 3 goals and 2 more assists on Saturday in a 12-5 victory over Alma. In addition, Pfister picked up 3 ground balls and accumulated 12 draw controls in the 2 games combined. There are 12 non-conference women's games on the schedule this week, highlighted by Allegheny traveling to California for a pair of spring break games against Chapman and Pomona Pitzer. We'll wrap up this week's show on the diamond by celebrating the achievements of the NCAC Player and Pitcher of the Week award winners for both baseball and softball. The Baseball Player of the Week award went to Ohio Wesleyan senior Sean Vollenweider, who was extremely active at the top of the order to help guide the Bishops to a 3-3 record in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Vollenweider, a resident of Westerville, Ohio, and a graduate of St. Francis de Sales High School, hit .370 on the week after collecting 10 hits in 27 at-bats to go along with 8 RBI and 7 runs scored. He also drew 1 walk, was hit by a pitch once, and finished the week by going 6 for 7 in stolen base attempts. OWU concluded its week-long trip in Myrtle Beach with 2 wins against Penn State Berks and an 11-4 triumph over Albertus Magnus. The weekly pitching honor was awarded to Allegheny senior Kyle Davis, who tossed a gem in the Gators' 7-1 win over Gallaudet on the opening day of their spring break trip in Central Florida. Davis, who hails from Solebury, Pennsylvania, went the distance in the 7-inning game and struck out a career-high 11 batters while allowing just 5 hits and 1 unearned run. 9 of the 10 NCAC baseball teams have kicked off their 2014 seasons, while Oberlin remains the only league team to not play a game due to the inclement weather in Ohio. The Yo men are scheduled to kick off the 2014 season today, March 18th, with a home doubleheader against Ohio Northern, before setting off for warmer weather this weekend as they travel to Tucson, Arizona for their annual spring break trip. In NCAC softball action, the Wittenberg Tigers swept the weekly awards after they got off to their best start in program history with a 9-1 record in Central Florida. Junior Ashley Wright garnered the Player of the Week award after hitting .452 with 4 homers, 1 double, 13 RBI, and 8 runs scored in the 10 games combined. Wright, a resident of Kettering, Ohio, and a graduate of Fairmont High School, is now second on the program's single-season home run list with her 4 dingers in Florida. She also climbed into third on the program's career list as she has now smacked 8 round trippers in her career. And the weekly award in the pitching circle went to Wittenberg senior Rachel Ross, who dominated opposing hitters en route to posting a perfect 7-0 record in Florida. Ross, who hails from Westerville, Ohio, finished the week with a 1.10 ERA after allowing just 6 earned runs in 38 1/3 innings of work. She also set 19 batters down on strikes and limited opposing hitters to a minuscule .170 batting average. The Tigers dominated opponents on the week, with 5 of their 9 wins coming via the Mercy Rule, while the marquee win of the trip came on March 14th as they topped 25th ranked Ithaca by a 7-2 margin. All 9 NCAC softball teams are scheduled to be in action this week, highlighted by Allegheny, Oberlin, and Worcester competing in Florida, and Denison making the trek out west to play their spring break games in Tucson, Arizona. And fans, as always, for up-to-date news, stats, and standings from around the North Coast Athletic Conference, you can log on to our website at www.northcoast.org. Also be sure to follow us on Twitter at NCAC, as well as like us on Facebook. And for the entire conference staff, I'm Brett Billhart, and thanks for watching.